Hi everybody, in this video I'm gonna show you how we made $1.6 million using our one product store formula selling masks. The store has already been closed, so I'm able to disclose everything and I'm gonna make it super transparent starting from our ad strategies, our creatives, our store setup, our finances, and the exact economics, including exactly how much profit we made and the logistics setup of the business. Even if you're not selling masks, this one product store formula has worked for us multiple times and is definitely gonna be applicable if you're running a one product store business. Thank you so much for the love you're giving me in the other videos and so many views and subscribers. That's really cool. If you like this video, please click the button below to like it and subscribe if you're interested in our other content. If you don't know yet, we run a Facebook community where we share more super awesome tips, live events, and so on. You can find it in the link in the description as well. So first of all, we used a multiple store strategy for this one. So every country that we wanted to focus on had a different store. For example, here's the results from the store from the UK. And as you can see, all of that has happened over the course of June, July, and August pretty much. Before we get started with the juicy stuff, I want to give you guys some context of why and how we started this business. So at first I was very skeptical about any kind of mask related business. We've had a lot of requests from potential clients asking us to promote their products, but I didn't really have any way of verifying whether the products were good enough. I felt that, it might be some shady stuff might be going on in the niche, especially as I've seen, like some suppliers kind of, like backing down on their promises to deliver and things like that, people delivering fake certificates and so on. So I just kept saying no. But then when our logistics partner with whom we run a few businesses brought to me this product that they showed me the certifications and the results, and they said that, hey, you know what, we can, for every mask we sell, we can donate one mask to a local elderly care center or the local essential worker. And I was actually like, this is super cool because we can both make money and actually help people in the process. So that's when I decided that it might be a good idea to try it on. And especially as after I've seen the results of the initial conversion rates, which were just insane. We started the store, we ran it for 2 months. Then the kind of results started to drop in. So we decided to close the store because of the logistic efforts that we've had to make to fulfill $1,000 per day. That was just not like the profits were not justifying the efforts anymore. So we decided to close it down. That's why I can't share all the numbers with you guys for this super transparent full case study. Hope you're going to appreciate it. And let me know if you have any questions about any of the specifics as well. And the exact numbers that we made from the store, you can check them here. First thing you need to know is our store setup. So as I mentioned, we've used multiple stores for this business. We had one store that was selling worldwide. We had one store specific for the UK market, and we had one store for the US sales. We also had a few backup stores for the countries that if we managed to make them work really well, we would focus the attention on those countries. The reason we used multiple store strategy is so that we can personalize parts of the website copy and so on in order to increase the conversion rates. So our stores were all one-pagers, one product stores with no collections page and no cart page. Now, the absolute fundamentals of every one product store is the conversion rate of your store. So as you can see, like everything we've implemented across June, July, and August has led to us having 4.1 average conversion rate in June. And the reason the conversion rates dropped in July and August is actually not because there were any changes in the store, but because we changed the traffic source and we started driving Taboola traffic instead of Facebook ads, which doesn't convert as much. But in June, when we saw that the conversion rates were massive, we knew we had a product market fit and we had a product that can scale big time. So we decided to double down on this and focus our attention on setting up the logistics and work on scaling the ad platforms. Here's what we did to boost the conversions. So as you can see on the store, we've got a very, very good product shot, high quality. We, talk about the most important parts of our USP. We're backing up our claims with the authority of the WHO. We are using contrasting CTA buttons. We've got a banner at the top talking about the free shipping threshold and also where we're shipping from, where we're shipping to. Our navigation is very limited and it's not very visible on purpose because we want people to focus scrolling down and going through our funnel, the only tabs that we're using. Yeah, so here again, we're talking about the authority that we borrowed, which is, a very important aspect. If you guys have if the product is kind of flowing on a trend or is, following the recommendations of some authority, do mention that. It's definitely advisable. We talk about the main parts of our USP. Here we also expand on all the benefits. So we translate all the features into benefits, right? So instead of saying, talking about the materials that we used, we say that it's eco-friendly. Instead of talking about materials that we use, we say it's super comfortable. We talked about the size because this is the one question people have. So think about what questions your customers might have about your product. If you don't have the idea about those because you're just launching, check Amazon comments and questions for to have an idea of what to put on your website, right? So we also have this infographic, which is giving the product a more of a scientific feel to boost the trust and back up our claims. This is very easy to get, and you can get one for Fiverr for as little as $50. Then we design our sites always with the mobile experience in mind first. And that's why we have those, expanded parts of the USP and the drop-down boxes. Then the crucial part, one product stores, one pager stores as well. There's no cart intermediate. We want people to just, absorb the information we want them to absorb and then purchase. Here's the cart part. As you can see, we have the regular price. We always want to make the product seem like a good deal. We're showcasing the reviews, certifications as well. And then here's the super important part, because this is why we managed to achieve an average order value that was equal to about 3 times the product price, is because of this. So the tiered discounts or the quantity breaks, whatever you want to call it, people can choose what product they want to purchase. So we don't have multiple product pages, or we don't make them choose any particular variant, because people might want to, buy 2 of those and 1 of those. So we want to make it as easy as possible. And then we show people how much they're saving as they add more products to their basket, right? Super important part of what we've done is we have donated a lot of masks to the first responders and local elderly care centers. And we want to show people really that every product they add to basket is actually will make them feel good about the purchase, right? So this is super important as well. As you can see, we have product images, we have videos, which video gives you much more space to explain the benefits of the products, right? So we ordered all those renders, we made the shots. We really wanted to showcase the product in a very scientific manner. Then this is an important part. Right below the buy now button, you've got some space to remind people about the key parts of your USP and kind of debunk the last objections, right? So yeah, we talk about the shipping, we talk about the speedy delivery, the environmental focus, because this is especially important for the UK customers. We've also had the review section, and as you could see, we've got a whole other site dedicated to reviews, which is super important. We've actually tested. We used to have those kind of look style reviews on the main page before, but then we switched to a different setup, like both options were converting similarly. But this is a really cool thing, because definitely you want to show customer reviews that look real, that have the user photos on them, and you want to show this literally a wall of reviews to the customers. To get started with, give some products to your friends, send some products to influencers, seed some reviews, so that you can have this threshold social proof, and the rest you'll accumulate organically. To further boost your credibility, you can use a service such as brandfeatured.com for as little as $400 to get those brand features that to significantly boost conversions and trust in your product. Here's another section that I want to talk about, because I feel that this has been one of the biggest contributing factors to the store success, because we're not just telling people, hey, here's a product, buy it, but we're actually using this brand approach of giving people a sense of feeling good about their purchase, as well as making people feel they're part of something bigger, and that by purchasing they don't just spend money on something that they need, but they're actually contributing to society. So we decided to use this angle, buy one give one, and even though it cuts heavily into our profits, this contributed significantly to our conversion rates, average order value, and so on. Now, as you can see, we have used multiple payment methods, including PayPal. It's super important that you use the payment methods that are the most common in the market to which you're selling, right? So in most countries such as US, Canada, EU, Australia, New Zealand, and other e-bucket countries, you'll get the most benefits by just using Shopify Payments and PayPal. If you want to sell to countries such as Brazil, you might need to use the local payment methods, including things like cash on delivery. Remember that many payment processors will take a temporary hold on a percentage of your income, so make sure to factor that in as you're planning your scaling and your cash flow. Here is our worldwide store that we used outside of the UK to test new countries. So as you can see, we have the trust badges here. We made them US specific. You want to be able to use the US specific mentions for things like that as well. Here we're emphasizing, as you can see, we're emphasizing savings. We're also using the video. We have different certificates that we mentioned for different countries because we found that those tend to work better for those countries. Another thing I want to emphasize is the currencies. So as you can see, I'm now in Poland. I get my prices in PLN, and this is super important. Whatever countries, if you're using an international store, make sure your currency converter is working flawlessly. In this case, we use Auto Currency Switcher app on Shopify. Most countries in the EU don't really need their copies translated for testing, right? You might get additional benefits for this, but for countries such as Netherlands, Sweden, Norway, Iceland, Finland, and Denmark, which are very affluent countries, you don't need to translate your copies. For countries such as Brazil or France, they are unlikely to perform well for you unless you have the copies translated and you use the local payment processors. Remember that whatever business can spend the most to acquire the customers always wins. So because of that, we worked a lot on the lifetime value and average order value of this business. I've already told you about our tiered discount strategy to boost the AOV. Here's a few other strategies that we use to increase the number of purchases per customers. So for example, we used Klaviyo to have a post-purchase customer thank you flow where, after waiting one day, we literally just ask customers for feedback just to, build up this relationship and show us that we're a positive brand. And after 14 days, we have used flows like this to basically get the customers to repurchase. Another strategy we used was add packaging inlets into the packages with discount codes to increase the lifetime value. Now, I want to do a quick rundown across all our numbers for full transparency, but also I think it's important for everyone to see the back end of the business. Everyone is, talking about what kind of revenues they've made, but how does it actually translate into profit? It's important to understand the mechanics and the benchmarks in the business and what kind of economics should a healthy e-commerce business have, right? So as you can see, we've started the store on the 15th of June, 2020. And, there's been some tests in the setup phase before that, but this is when we really started proper ad testing and so on. And the end date is also the date when we stopped the ads. After that, the store has been running for a few months, as I mentioned before, because we had to, kind of sell out the stock. We were sending some emails, managing customer support and so on. So the total lifetime is 56 days. As you can see, we've had it split between the 3 stores. Here's so that you can understand the numbers. The gross revenue from the total 3 stores was almost 2 million, minus discounts and returns gives us the net sales, which is what the Shopify is reporting. So the Shopify is reporting the net sales plus shipping. Then we've got the ad spend across Facebook and Taboola. It was $730,000. The cost of goods sold, $300,000. So the cost of goods sold, the gross margin, which is the sales minus COGS over the sales, is 74%. The other costs that we've had, customer support, some tools, and the transaction fees and so on, less than $75,000. Right, so the net profit ended up to be at about $405,000. So the net margin ended up at about 25%, which is, I would say, a good score for an e-commerce business. Like anything between 15% to 30% is to be expected. So we were aiming to maintain the costs of, the product and transaction and everything below 30% of the total revenue, which was definitely achieved. We also wanted to hit the total ad spend, total marketing costs to be at about 30%. Which we did not achieve this time, especially because, the costs of Taboola have increased at the later phases of the project. But still, we managed to net at about 25%. Out of that, we donated 83,000 worth of masks, which was about 20% of the net profit. So as you can see, the total amount of orders we've made across the 3 stores was about 40,000 orders. The average order value blended was about $38, which, if you remember, our product price was about $12, $13, depending on the moment, because we've been testing testing prices. I distinguish here between the two channels. So Taboola has spent significantly more than Facebook, and it has generated much more traffic. But it tends to be a much less converting traffic, much colder, right? So as you can see, the conversion rate on Taboola was 1.6%. The conversion rate on Facebook was 5.2%. So the blended conversion was about 2 across the whole 56 days. Cost per click, Taboola 0.29. So you can see Facebook CPC was like almost over 3 times that, but the conversion rate was also much higher. So if it wasn't for the issues with Facebook, we would have definitely made more money on that. So the return on the ad spend blended was about 20%. On Facebook, it was higher. On Taboola, it was a bit lower, and returning customer rate was about 5%. This was more of an impulse purchase, and the store, has not been running for too long for this rate to spike up. Another important thing you need to know is what kind of setup and the team we had to make this business successful, right? We had one e-commerce manager who was overseeing the whole marketing side. We had one logistics manager who was managing one main factory. We had one backup factory in case something goes off with the first one. And we had 2 fulfillment centers, one in China and one in the UK. We've also had a customer support team of 5. There's been 4 reps and one kind of person managing the customer support team. We had one Facebook ads buyer. We had a Taboola ad buyer. We had 2 creative guys doing videos and images. We had one copywriter for email and SMS and ad copies. And we had one person taking care of the analytics for the store. As for the customer support, we had 4 people on the full-time staff, as well as the e-commerce manager helping them out in case of escalations. So total cost that we spent for customer support for a store of this size was about $5,000 per month. Even after we close the store, and this is the thing that you guys need to be aware of, is you still need to maintain your customer support for at least 3 months in case some cancellations and questions come up from the previous customers. Before we dive into our Facebook ad strategies for this one, I wanted to talk to you about the customer feedback score on Facebook. Because even if you have the best product and excellent reviews, when you're scaling, you sometimes might struggle with Facebook customer feedback score. So here are a few reasons why that's happening and how to deal with them. So number 1, competitors maliciously attacking your feedback score. This is actually a thing, and I've seen a lot of malicious competitor attacks. The feedback score attacks, the MRCA takedowns and things like that. So the way to deal with that is you want to make sure that your ads are not being shown to your competitors. It's not going to work every time, but if you exclude from your ad sets behaviors, Facebook page admins and business page admins, you increase your chances of omitting your competitors. The other one is shipping times, right? So to deal with that, invest in a strong customer support team, answer all customers' questions within a few hours as soon as possible, really. Set up some frequent email communication with updates on the product shipping to show your customers that you haven't forgotten about them. Another thing is you can set your shipping time on the Facebook customer score page to 9+ weeks, which is, this is the time when Facebook is going to ask your customers whether they have received the product. And another thing is to, boost the trust of the customers. You can set up the shipping tracking order tab on your website. Product quality. Gather feedback from your customers. Work with your manufacturer to adjust the product based on feedback or change the manufacturer altogether. From my experience, quite often if your feedback score is penalized because of the quality, it's usually just the competitor attacks. But yeah, definitely there's no substitute for working on the product quality. Having a superior product will increase your lifetime value and make people recommend your product to others. And because of that, your costs of advertising are also going to be lower. Providers that claim they can fix your score. So I've tested a lot of different people claiming that they can fix the score and a lot of different methods, starting from, just having VAs leave comments on the ads and so on. But Facebook is learning very quickly. So I found that by now there's no substitute for improving your product fulfillment speed and communicating with your customers, especially at scale. So some providers out there claim that they can fix your score by deploying a number of agents to leave positive feedback on your ads. But these solutions, I found that they just collapse at scale. If you're doing a lot of volume and we were doing more than $1,000 per day, these solutions will just not work for you because the number of agents you would need to keep up with the decreasing feedback is just enormous. If you're dropshipping and doing a volume like that, consider hiring a logistic partner that can help you build a local fulfillment center network in the country that you're selling to. And remember to consider VAT obligations before making a decision of whether you want to switch from China fulfillment to local fulfillment. Now let's talk about Facebook ads. Just before we get started, I wanted to let you guys know, as you could see from the previous numbers, that the Facebook ads was actually not our main traffic channel for for this store. The main traffic channel was Taboola, which I'm going to talk about in the next video, so stay tuned. And the reason that Taboola was our main traffic source, despite Facebook having insane conversion values, was because our ads just kept getting banned. We were running 4 different ad accounts for this store, and 2 of them just got banned instantly, even though, the Facebook really was publicly announced that Facebook does allow mask advertising, right? But the problem was that the automatic algorithms just kept banning our ads, right? So there was like a misalignment between what the Facebook was saying and what they were actually doing. So this was the problem, when the ads were not passing. So the ads would always pass the manual review. So after they got disapproved, we would appeal and we would always get them unbanned. But because the automatic algorithms were not working in our favor, the costs of that, the fact that, our ads kept getting banned and our best ads, when they were disapproved, the results of the accounts were dropping. So essentially at some point we decided it's not worth the effort and we cannot push a significant volume on Facebook. So we decided to switch to Taboola. But nevertheless, I want to show you the kind of ad account structure and things we've done on Facebook as well. So first of all, when we were getting started, we ran some small tests. We saw that the ads were working. Pretty much any creative that we were doing would work, which told us that the product was superior. So here you can see the ads were running from the 1st of June till the 31st of August 2020. We spent in that time period a total of $142 on this account only, $142,000. Return on the ad spend was about 2.5, which is on Shopify was probably even bigger, because remember that Facebook ads does not report the shipping fees, for example, back to Shopify, and any kind of organic sales. 356,000 on this one. The cost per purchase was $15, right? So as you can see, like our account setup was pretty basic. We were running like the biggest spending campaigns were the lookalike audiences for the UK. We had a worldwide campaign, we had a EU-wide campaign, UK campaigns. We were also testing some countries on specific campaigns. But first of all, like usually the best setup is to test. If you want to test new countries, you use a worldwide campaign. All of our campaigns were CBO campaigns. We didn't use ad set optimization here, and all of the campaigns were using the conversion objectives. We optimized for purchase straight away. So we started by targeting the UK with the lookalike audiences. We had some broad campaigns as well, and when we noticed that broad audiences were working pretty well, we also decided to expand into the worldwide campaigns. We started with no bidding, with no manual bidding. Once we realized that we wanted to scale pretty fast, we use bidding quite extensively to prevent any kind of overspending. And our bidding method of choice is the target cost bidding. We usually start target cost bidding at about 1.5 times the average CPA that we've had, and then you lower it down. The reason you want to start high and then decrease is because the manual bidding tends to decrease your reach, right? So if you don't want to, so you'll find that your campaigns might be running at a 10 times the daily budget comparing to what they're actually spending. We set down, as you can see, we set the target cost a little bit higher than the CPA that we were actually getting. So remember that your cost not always what you're going to achieve, what the actual result that you're going to get. An interesting thing to notice was, so you can see the daily budgets in this campaign, for example, was $25,000, but we're actually this campaign has spent lifetime only $23,000, right? So you have to kind of it's a totally different process of working with manual bids. You set up much higher daily budgets, and then you're ready that it's only going to spend a fraction of that, right? Because of the limitations that you're setting for it. So in terms of targeting, we've used lookalike audiences. Another thing we've used was value-based targeting lookalike audiences, which is super good, and it's one of the best audiences you can test. We've also used, this is a product that had a completely broad appeal. Anyone could use it. So most of the campaigns were just using demographics targeting, no interests whatsoever. We were using automatic placements most of the time. We believe heavily in letting Facebook algorithm do its job. That's why we have we use CBOs, we use automatic placements, we use automatic or manual bidding depending on the context, and we also sometimes use dynamic creatives. In this case, if you guys want to see the creatives that we've used, we relied mostly on video creatives. For some reason, the images were disapproved pretty much every time that we've tried testing them. And the videos, we just had a very nice footage that we shot ourselves. We made sure to use as compliant of a copy as possible. I might not be able to show you the ads, but essentially we were using the same, the videos that we had on the product pages, just, tested different hooks. A very good hook was, when we were showing that the mask is waterproof, improve and things like that. The images were carrying some weight, but most of the spend was going towards videos anyway. So as I mentioned, the biggest problem with Facebook was that our ads were getting disapproved, and after some time the results just started dying down. Even though we were able to maintain a ROAS above 2, which was acceptable for us, we were not able to push high budget through it, and that's so we basically just let it run until the campaigns have run its course. All right, something that a lot of you have been waiting for, which is the summary of our Taboola advertising strategy for the mask store. First of all, before we get started, if you guys want to learn more about what Taboola and native advertising is, I'm gonna link the video that I made about Taboola specifically right here. Now, what is Taboola? So Taboola is a native advertising platform. What does it even mean? So a native ads are those little ads that you can sometimes see on news websites below the articles. So they look like almost like a recommended, suggested articles, but they're actually ads, right? And this is what makes them a little bit sneaky, but this is what also makes them super effective. So, they blend into the natural, this kind of editorial content on content sites, and because of that, people, like trust those ads and click through. The typical funnels that people run are either direct to product pages or through some kind of intermediate step advertorial, which kind of, an advertorial is something that resembles a content article or a news article, but it's actually a kind of a sales pitch, right? So first of all, as you can see for Taboola, when we were running the store between July and August, we spent £377,000, and our aggregated CPA was about £13, which, taking into account that our average order value was about £29.30, our average ROAS was about 2.2, which in reality it got significantly lower in this latest period. So overall, it was probably much better. First of all, something that I can say about Taboola is that their setup is really straightforward. You need to get approved. Not everybody can advertise on Taboola. They have a pretty strict advertising approval process. You need to, if you're selling product like this, they need to approve your certificates and make sure that they're legitimate, validate your, media mentions and things like that if you're making any claims. This was pretty smooth. Their reps are way more supportive than on Facebook, and they can help you set up the tracking. They're really useful when it comes to suggestions on campaign implementations and so on. Tracking setup is super easy. The reps can help you set it up. We had some issues setting up the conversion value tracking, and that's why we were using just the CPA basis for most of the time. We had a brief period when we were tracking ROAS as well, but not for all the campaigns. Their algorithm is super advanced. What this means is this, as you can see, when we were bumping up the budgets, like here, the CPA spikes briefly, but then as you pause scaling, the CPA kind of goes back to the same place, right? So this was, super stable. If you find out, a combination of creatives and copies and a funnel that works, you can literally keep them running for a while, and they're going to continue to work. So our offer was very simple. So we were not using any advertorial in between. We were just driving traffic directly to our store page, and this was working pretty well for us. However, if it was a different product, I would probably be using advertorial instead of direct to product page funnel. In terms of the countries, we were running campaigns specific for different countries. Most of our volume came from United Kingdom, Australia, Ireland, Canada, some from the US. We didn't have that much success in the US. Probably the product wasn't, that market was a little bit more saturated. If I were doing this again, I would probably test out some advertorials for the US market, but we didn't pursue it. In terms of campaign creatives and content, we were using a pretty basic setup. So on Taboola, you can use some videos, but we were just using image creatives because they blend in better with the advertorial content. That's the whole idea. On normal news websites, they don't really have videos as the creatives, as the thumbnails for the content that they're running. As you can see, types of creatives we were running were really simple, product focused, the copies straight to the point. We were also using in Taboola, in the copies, you can leverage some personalization depending on demographics. So for example, learn why folks in the city are wearing this mask and so on. So, striking a little bit of curiosity. In general, really basic stuff was working for us. As you can see, our campaigns were split between desktop or mobile for every country. We were running single country campaigns. We've tested some country combinations as well, but they didn't work that well. We tested a lot of different countries, but only a few of them were driving significant volume at desirable CPA. So in general, here's how the campaign was flowing, right? So we started off with some limited tests. We tested a few creatives and copies. We tried to bump up the budget. It was doing pretty well in terms of the CPA basis. As you can see, first day get a higher CPA, we kept the budget stable, it dropped significantly. Then we started to increase the spend, the CPA bumped, so we paused the scaling for a bit. Again, the algorithm reacted pretty predictably, so we started pushing a lot of volume up to spending about 25k per day. And then we had a massive problem because our bank HSBC blocked our card, which here meant that we had to stop all advertising. It completely flopped the whole algorithm. So if you're running big volume, make sure you have backup cards all the time. Make sure that you have cards that are never gonna get declined. This was really bad. So next time we're gonna use prepaid cards and we're gonna use US credit cards. So yeah, so then we recovered a little bit, but as you can see, the CPA never really recovered from those points here. So yeah, we pushed a lot of volume, we descaled very quickly, and then we made some last attempts here to increase the price, hoping that it would counteract the CPA increase, but it only resulted in a higher CPA. So we decided essentially to kill this channel and eventually let it die down to prevent further losses. Now, as I mentioned, the angle that we were using for this stall was this very altruistic angle as well. So for every mask that we sold, we were giving one mask to charity. Overall, we donated over 50,000 masks to local elderly care centers and essential workers in a few countries: UK, US, Ireland, and Australia. So those are basically our best performing countries. That amounted to about 20% of our profits, but it was more than worth it because as a result, our conversion rates were better, our average order values were better, and we were also having, we were also helping a lot of people. And as you can see, we got photos from the care centers that received and the charities that received our packages, which was, rewarding in many ways as well. Another thing is, I wanted to break down what we would approach differently, to do a little bit of a summary. As I mentioned, we made quite significant volume, but to be honest, it was below our expectations. Next time, what we would do is we would partner up with some long-standing fashion brand to run this kind of offer. And, fingers crossed that COVID doesn't strike again and we don't, this kind of opportunity will never happen. But if it did, we would partner up with some long-standing fashion brand to get the account whitelisted, to prevent, getting the ads disabled, so that we can actually leverage Facebook ads as well. We would also use prepaid cards or US credit cards for ad spend to prevent interruptions in payments, which really destroy the ROAS. We would also enter a less regulated market probably with this one product store formula, so that we could leverage our marketing assets better as well. And definitely make faster decisions when it comes to killing the channels sooner when the CPA goes up, right? So we were running a lot of tests on Taboola, hoping that it would pick up again, but it didn't happen. And eventually, what it meant is that we probably could have ended up with more profit if we made, faster decision that this store is probably not gonna continue, right? We could do more product innovation as well, which is something that we looked into, but then we decided that taking into account all the issues that we've had on Facebook, that this project is not worth pursuing. But this one product store formula is definitely something that we're going to replicate for other brands. Thanks a lot for watching the full video. Again, I hope you enjoyed the case study and the transparency of it and everything. Remember that you can check out the whole thing in a written format on our website, salesgenomics.co.uk, in the case study section. If you also would like to see more actionable tips on how to manage your own e-commerce business, consider joining our group on Facebook. The group is called E-commerce Scaling Strategies by Sales Genomics. Also remember to like this video and click the subscribe button if you want to see more content on YouTube. Thanks a lot.